Hey there, folks, and welcome to another episode of Crit Hit Interviews. I'm Arlyeon, and we're here today with Severio Caporusso. Did I get that right, or did I mangle it?
Yes, it's right. I'm Saverio. Yes, Caporusso. Yes, it's correct.
Got it in one. Yes. Who's both the CEO and a game designer at Troglobytes Games, who you folks may be familiar as the developers of the recent early access release Hyper Parasite, as well as Tenebrae Twilight of the Gods, which, more on that later.
Yes.
For those unfamiliar with these interviews, incidentally, we do like to kick things off a bit informally just to get to know the people behind the games. You sort of missed me and Severio bullshitting around about our cats.
Yes.
You're a fellow cat owner. Feel free to gush about your cats.
hmm They're sleeping at the moment, but yes, they will wake up sooner, just in the middle of interview, to let them notice their presence.
It's fine. It'll be something for all the cat lovers to look forward to. Uh,
Yeah.
for those people, by the way, who are here to find out more things that are just game related to Hyper Parasite or what have you, there is a list of questions that'll be splashed up on the screen, so you can always check that just to find out where stuff is. Anywho, with all that said, so first of all, Severio, what's your favorite game or genre of game?
Yes, it's a fantastic question. It's like to say, what's your favorite movie? I mean, movies are very various genres, so basically it depends. I remember when I was a child, I was going to play the famous arcades coin-op kind of game. Splatterhouse, I
Oh my
like it a
god.
lot. Splatterhouse was the first horror video game. Let's say, I guess so. I don't know. I mean,
I think
but
there
was
was
what the
Amiga ones, but like, I'm
yeah,
not
but in that
counting them.
yeah, but in that time they said there was no, let's say, console. They arrived a bit later on the market. They hit the market a bit later, so your only opportunity to play those electronic games, let's say. Also, the name was weird because I mean, was to go in those places with the arcades and the co-op. So I remember it was a Splatterhouse. I like it a lot. Um, Altered Beast was another fantastic. Of course,
Rise
when we
from your grave.
yeah, and that was funny because okay, I don't know. You have to see at the end of the game what was in reality that. So because I saw the end of that game, I want to finish almost all the games to see if perhaps there is a surprise at the end.
I never finished
But
that one. I tried.
try just go on YouTube and see the end. It's very fun. It's fun. Okay, it's something, you know. And other games, let's say, recently I was playing. I've been been playing Mountain Blade, which is for me very inspiring. It's a very nice game. Congratulations on the team. And let's say and many other games from arcade time, even if let's say for me it's not retro, it's what was actually the, let's say, the panorama, the scenario for the games.
Hmm. I'm actually going to double back here for a second because you were actually talking about sort of like the genres. Now, Hyper Parasite, the game you've made, pulls a lot from sort of like 80s movies culture. So, like, is there specific favorite movies that, also helped sort of form the game as it is?
Yeah, let's say there were all the movies from the 80s. I love I love Big Trouble Little China, and like also Ghostbusters. There was those movies when there is something serious going on. Okay, but there is some characters they are, let's say, making the most terrible things like a bit comic, a bit, sometimes also there is a bit of, I don't know, I mean, black humor in all those movies of the 80s, of course. So all of those kind of movies that were inspiring were a source of inspiration for Hyper Parasite. And beside movies, we include also, some characters, some iconic characters, because this scenario is in the 80s.
So currently, you're making like this brainchild. There's like a melting pot of '80s movies, but we're gonna just wind it back for a second to ask, like, so how did you end up getting into game development?
Um, let's say I am with my friends. We were playing, of course, Dungeons and Dragons, all the other games, and the video games. As we were always playing our games. We were inventing new rules, new conditions to win and lose. So basically, this is already game designing, and with my team in Italy, they are in video gaming since ages. Uh, we start to work together, collaborating to projects. So this is basically the the start of my game developing, let's say, within brackets, career, because yes, they know the graphic, they know the ideas they know what to do, and I know a bit more. I study a bit more to, let's say, acquire more knowledge about what was our, let's say, as a kid, the idea that we were shaping in our games,
Hmm.
to build more structure in it. That's all. More reason, not just randomly thrown stuff.
So, I mean, first off, it's really neat to know that you're like a fellow tabletopper, because admittedly, I'm like a D&D nerd among other things. But would you say your experience with tabletop gaming influenced the structure of the games you're developing?
Um, yes, yes or no, because I mean, whenever you can apply the rules of a tabletop game. You can apply sometimes, it depends. It depends by the genre of your game. So there are always the information available to the player, the condition again to win a loss, the luck factor, how much is important, and the interactions with other players whenever possible, and all those kind of, let's say, those components basically.
So, like I said in the introduction of this, you're the CEO of Troglobyte Games. So, how did it end up forming? Like the studio in and of itself?
I know uh, two guys of the studio since years, and they were always involved in game developing, video game developing. Um and so I was always interested in what they are doing, and I want to know how they, the technical part, how they were creating, and which contents were adding when possible to have the, this information, and also eventually to test their games. And of, let's say, from that came a bit naturally to work together, because, for instance, I have more knowledge, let's say, knowledge within brackets, more experience, let's say, of gaming, for balancing a game, for statistics of mm, what is the challenge of a game, and from that side, let's say, because they are busy in programming, text reading, and doing their job, we end up, let's say, working together.
Fair.
Yes. I mean,
So, Severio, what's the origin of your studio's name?
yeah, yeah, it's funny. I mean, we had troglobites, something that makes, the troglodytes, but with the bites. So we like to picture ourselves like simple cavemen that one day they found technology, and that's the first thing they start to do somehow is to make video games. So you know, simple brains, simple brains making, primitive brains making something advanced like in many terms, like video games. So yes, we like to see mm, this image. Also is the way that we approach some problems. It's not that we throw a club on the floor and we smash ourselves. No, it's just the way we perhaps work for the problems. No,
Banging keyboards
we
together until you make sick fires.
yes, yes, and stuff like this. Yes, yes.
All right. Now, this is a thing that is notable here is you're not only the CEO for Troglobyte Games, you're also a game designer. Does that influence the way you run your studio? And inversely, does that also influence the way that you design the game?
Yes and no, because some game designing choices. Let's say the principal guidelines. Um, we let's say we have decide for the guidelines all together. Let's say, of course, it was my part a bit more. Challenging respect because for me to communicate the idea and to communicate what we want the player to do, to think, to experience, basically. And yeah, being the CEO, let's say within brackets, it's just bureaucratic stuff and all the rest to manage to manage in the studio. There's also the part of participating events, and which I try to attend, at least the event in Europe, which I try to attend as often as I can. So yeah, this is the combination.
So, just one last, I suppose, question for all things CEO related, but game development's a pretty stressful thing. There's a lot of things noted for how stressful the atmosphere can be, especially because sometimes things like crunch occur and the like. Do you have any tips or habits you personally use to mitigate that stress? And as a CEO, is there any practices you follow to try and ensure that your employees are looked after?
Um, to try to relieve my stress, let's say uh, I have two cats, so sometimes they're they're just too meant to be squeezed a bit. Have, so that's let's say it's like those pet therapies, no? um, yes, something like this. Regarding my workers, let's say I live in Spain, where the company is, and the rest of the studio is in a cave in Italy. No, I don't have control. I cannot say to them how to release the stress. There is no, I don't have such power, let's say, with this distance to tell them how to, they are grown up person, and I think they know how to manage the stress. I mean, they handle themselves. There's nothing I can do. Say,
Fair
basically,
enough.
yes.
That actually basically sums up most of our icebreaker questions, so we can actually move on to the questions about the recent game. Which is say, since we're currently running footage of Hyper Parasite in the background of the interview, I figured I'd ask the same, just all the same if you'd be able to describe the game just a bit in your own words for what it is, as well as the twists you're bringing to the game's formula, since it's not exactly typical.
Yeah, okay. Technically, let's go. Technically, Hyper Parasite is a roguelike twin stick shooter, shooter brawler, and inspired to the 80s. We said before, with retro synthwave music and all the appearance of the game seems like a game from the Mega Drive or PlayStation 1, you know. But what appeals really in Hyper Parasite is the mechanic of snatching. We use this word of snatching on your enemies. Is a mechanic very interesting and not so used in the history of video game. We we took inspiration by a cabinet and arcade we have in the office, and there is a game is Avenging Spirit. It's a really old game where you play where basically you are a spirit. You are not a fighter. You are not a thrower of items. You are you don't shoot anything. You're just a spirit wandering around in the platform. So when you are out of the body, you lose, I don't know, energy. Yeah, there is a energy bar. As you consume that, so you need to enter in a human body to use as a host, and then you can also you can use his power. I mean, if a double jump or if it shoots, if it goes immediate attack. I mean, so each character more or less has his own gameplay,
Hmm.
which is a very interesting idea. You don't need to collect weapons. You need to collect humans. So but humans are also chasing you. So there is this, we chase each other. So who is faster? Let's say basically, and uh, it's also interesting because the humans or whichever is the enemy, your weapon, and your extra life. So it's melt all together, and I cannot recall, let's say, a game like this. I mean, very few games have this mechanic, so it's very appealing uh, for us. It is still very appealing for us, and it creates a lot of sub mechanics because as not used so much, there are less experience and less develop of the what's next. You know.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting that like you're essentially the enemies are also able to be weaponized as like meat suits.
Yes.
That sounds terrible to say, but like meat
Yeah.
suits.
Why not? Yes.
So, what exactly led to you folks like sitting down and deciding that you were going to create like this 80 infused action-packed like invasion of the body snatchers game? I mean, less pod people, but like I don't know, purple tentacled people eater.
Yeah, I mean the idea of the parasite again is like the idea like the shape, really of the parasite. I mean, what could snatch a human? Okay, let's make a zombie or something.
I mean, I
That.
think of like the thing, like
Yeah,
John
exactly. But we
Carpenter's.
said exactly, but we don't need a zombie that spreads an infection. We need you know something that jumps from a human to another one. So let's go like a parasite inside the world. And yes, the things for Carpenter is it's the main source of inspiration of the what let's say what is the mechanism, what is the function of the parasite. And from then, yes, we decide, okay, let's do like this video game with this kind of horrific creature. And rather than a platform, we decide for a top-down twin stick shooter.
What like currently it has also a pretty distinct artistic style that it's used. A lot of the portraits, for instance, are sort of like caricatures of certain popular characters. Was there anything that ultimately influenced the style that you guys ended up using for Hyper Parasite?
Yeah, we have two kind of graphics. The one of the game, the one of the, let's say, the portraits. Let's say the portraits just to, within brackets, just to identify better your character. And we want to see, yes, we're able to create pixel art. No, I like the iconic style. No, as should be your character once when you were playing like D&D or something. You had the face of the character, and when it was hard, also like Doom, the small image of Castle Wolfenstein, and you have the small image of your face, something like this, basically. Just with to the difference that we have 60 characters like this. And meanwhile, for the opinion of the game, we want to be a bit more sophisticated, because if you see, I mean, we didn't want to have the same effect as of pixel art, but the game is in 3D actually.
Hmm.
Everything is in 3D, but it looks like a game from PlayStation 1 or Mega Drive. It has this mixed appealing, because I mean mixed appearance, and is also interesting for the casual viewer. No, he sees all the kind of games, and then he sees this quite pixels, but there are too many, and it seems 3D, and it's I mean, personally, I like the visual concepts and the art. I like the final result.
Hmm. Fair. So, also, I'm just sitting there thinking for a second, like, wait, you actually filled in the portraits on like the D&D character sheets? I just put stick figures. Yeah, sorry. Um, so for that matter, like as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the characters that you can inhabit, and especially the mini bosses, though it's pretty noticeable through even like the normal enemies, are like inspired by notable figures from movies. Like there's the totally not Bruce Willis, there's a murderous teen wolf, there's Back to the Future if it was more badass, and like Scarface. I can't think of like a sort of denial as to Scarface.
A drug lord, we call it.
Robert Donato. Yeah, it's totally Nato. Yeah. Anyways, uh, was there something in specific that led to you choosing those particular characters, and what made them specifically iconic for this game?
Let's say we went for we want to show all the possibilities, because not only the bosses have mini bosses, but of course, like you cannot put almost a boxer, uh, which had I don't know, I cannot recall 6 or 7 movies now.
Yeah.
Like a normal character to take in the street should be an important character, or at reverse, when a character is like unique, like the teenager wolf. We want to use that one, because it's I want this is the movie. No, at the same time you try to unlock the character, to unlock the movie, which is perhaps more specific. No, for the other characters there is a bit more of generic pop. I mean 80s pop culture. No, characters, but each player will choose his favorite ones by the weapon that you use, and then by also perhaps the from the mage. No,
Hmm.
so
I
and
suppose I also am going to need to ask a couple questions pertaining to this for things we can maybe look forward to. Like, are we possibly going to get look forward to a middle-aged shinobi turtle?
Yeah, I mean, perhaps I don't know. There is a reference also to that one. Some references are very
It's
clear.
Shredder, I think, was the
Uh,
reference, right?
yeah, some references are very clear. Some others, you don't have those. You don't have the Shinobi Ninja uh, um, characters but you have, the enemy. You have another secondary character sometimes. So, or it's a character before becoming the most famous character. So before, how it was, So it's also, yeah, it's a bit challenging for the players to guess.
Yeah, that was part of the thing where I was just sitting down there being like, okay, time to figure out who all of these are. I was trying to figure out like what the hobo was from. If anything, it's just I was like, I think it's just a hobo. It
Yeah,
might
it's
just be a
just a noble,
hobo.
but yeah, it could be. But the oboe. There are many oboes in the 80s movies, like the one of Terminator. When arrives Terminator in the first movie, there is a wind and the electric charge, and there is a noble. All the newspaper flying around is there sitting. The only witness of the arrival of Terminator, no, it's noble. So we put it there. It's a reference, but nobody will understand it, or very few people. But we want to use a bit of everything.
Okay, so gonna ask a couple more little spoilery character questions. I personally am really hoping that like Ash at like Evil Dead shows up.
Mhm.
What are the odds for that?
Uh, I guess so. I mean, on your personal request, I guess we have some reference. Of course, we cannot do it very clearly. But yes, perhaps would be. I mean, someone perhaps holding a blender. you know, we have to change, or a food
uh,
processor. I don't know. We have to change something.
so
We have
good.
also to put a bit of a comic side, in each character. I mean, something, you know.
Yeah, I just you like food processor and like at least it's not as bad as him just having like an axe there instead of a hand. Like the
Yes, I
hook
mean,
hand thing, but just like axe.
it's an alternative 80s. So yes, it could another kind of weapon. No?
So currently, like as mentioned above, the game's in early access, so there's still a lot to come. But what's been the hardest challenge for you as so far in the course of developing this title?
To basically to balance the game, and there is still something to do, because as I said before, it's a unique mechanic. So meanwhile, within brackets, the other game had the advantage to know, okay, I take this game and I know how it's going to work, and I add this this twist. So I take this direction, but the main road was was there for you. You make a variation. So you say, okay, I can work on this variation and to create something interesting. Instead we had to work on the whole mechanic. I mean, we don't work on the variations. We have to work on the mechanic. If it's not well balanced, of course you ruin everything from the start. I mean, let's say hanging, sprouting from this main road, there are many sub mechanics we have introduced, and each of them should be evaluated sometimes itself, sometimes in the contest, also in when playing in local co-op. It's a bit it's quite challenging, complicated, and it requires time to understand if your work had the payoff, basically.
Hmm.
Because when we test for among us and other few testers, so they know the game, they know more or less what's going to happen, they know more or less, okay, now it's like this and now it's like that. Okay, but to a new player, already 2, 3, let's say, things, or only one, just one that you will find that doesn't like, will say, oh no, but I prefer that a game is totally, it's 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 more difficult to be accepted. That's why we say tweet the tutorial one time at least
So,
to absorb the core mechanics.
how pivotal has then like community feedback been to the game's development as so far? And in that same vein, is there any specific changes you've made to the balance of the game, to its mechanics that you can think of that's come from feedback from the community?
Yes, indeed, we have applied, let's say, totally what user has proposed on our Steam page. So in order to have some characters available for the second level, we have introduced those kind of store things. I call them fridges. Like it's indeed a fridge, that's all. So everybody calls in this way, in a different way. So yes, I mean we have totally listened to our players, and during the discussions, I have introduced this body storage mechanic, no, where you can store the body, your favorite spaceman, because don't forget those are humans. So what is your favorite spaceman for later use?
Hmm. Hmm.
Which is which is very very interesting, and yes, it's they work quite well into the game.
Currently, there's more patches due to hit. You actually have been working on a schedule to patch fairly frequently. Is there any upcoming changes to the game you'd like to talk about? Things that are in the works that you're particularly excited to introduce?
There are new, of course, new mechanics. I cannot make so many spoilers. Of course, there are for this also. I mean, there are for this reason also some new mechanics that we want to introduce in order for the players sooner or later to arrive to understand how to play and how to manage, for instance, such some situations, and to unlock some achievement, for instance. So yes, there are many. There are some mechanics. Okay, some characters more specific into the game. So you have to chase for them, or you want to unlock them first in order to progress the game.
So here's a very specific question. Currently, like the parasite, when you're knocked down to them, they're useful, but their greatest strength is being able to pull other people to them and possess their bodies because they're extremely fragile. Is there any plans on further fleshing out the parasite's offensive abilities or giving them more options, especially when players are introduced to a newer area without a host body?
Yes, we are thinking also to this alternative. For instance, okay, when you are left without nobody to snatch, let's say we're thinking there is a possibility, of course, very very rare, to snatch them when they're let's say still locked. Consider that when you lose a body, you are already. I mean, it means that you're not playing well. It's not 99% like this, but if they hit you, means you didn't dodge the moment, you didn't calculate something, like, you are playing in a game, you're not playing well, you need just to figure out what to do, what to change your mentality, no? Instead to play in the same way. So let's say you should basically die, but of course it's not so straight the things if you store, let's say, the body. So if you use some, perhaps now we will put this solution as an item, as ability, as a skill. We're deciding how to do. Okay, you are allowed sometimes to, let's say, to recover from this state, to continue to progress the game, and to try a character before unlocking him. So you can say, this one works like this. This is a special. Yes, I will unlock it. Or yes, finally, let's see how it works. This character, and let's say, but next time I will be, I will try to play better.
Fair. Now, another question I've asked, like, is what's coming, but inversely, are there any changes to the mechanics and even the core concept of the game that you've either discarded over the course of development or which simply haven't made into the playable version of the game?
No, because there are of course options we have discarded, but no, we let's say in this state of of developing, we cannot put something that is total twist of the core mechanic. I mean, it's let's say the game is already set like this. It has anyway a lot of content. There are of course many ideas, many things, but we have to see in all the context how these ideas are going to work. You know, basically, basically it's like this already. It creates a lot of strategies. I mean, the concept will create even more strategies. So it's plenty of hours of game, really.
On the subject of strategies, so one of the things that players have access to is an almanac, which sort of lets them check items and characters they unlock. And the almanac also hints that there's going to be elements which make the various characters stand apart beyond like their attack type and their health like growth. Could you elaborate on how you're intending on making these various characters stand apart further and, ensuring that they matter in the context of the game and exploration? For instance, the totally not Ghostbuster is basically what you need to use to enter an optional area.
Exactly. So it's not straight, of course. I mean, using a character, you could we have 60, so you could figure out the ability of this character could be useful here and there, and it cannot be straightforward, straight, say in a straight way spoiler. Neither from me, neither from the almanac. Yes, but indeed have a look, because I like the idea of almanac. I want to put instead also bestiary, let's say, because for humans, for the parasite, for the hyper parasite, humans are simple, like let's say like a beast, totally replaceable, worthless. So it's just a way to go, let's say, to go forward. And yes, also it's a way for the parasite to know the human. So also you open the almanac and see which kind of attack they have, what they are resistant to, which has 2, 3 kind of power up, defense, or immunities, and try to use them inside the game. Perhaps you will you will find out.
Is there going to be like the addition of more puzzle-y elements that'll take advantage of the characters' various abilities as you progress further as the game continues updating?
Yes, could be, yes, indeed, like a puzzle game. Even if our game, let's say we want to keep the game like very very frenetic. A puzzle is people think puzzle. No, I have time to think. I have to see. I have to check, evaluate. Let's say we can put also puzzles, but always at the type that you need to be quick thinker and to react promptly. Else,
Like the helicopter boss,
yeah,
which
something. Yes,
can die in a fire, then I hate that boss because I'm so bad at it.
Yeah, I'm bad too. I'm bad too because people. I mean, when I go to events or everywhere, they say, "Ah, yes, because you play it a lot." Yes, I play a lot, but still there are some things I'm not able to do. So means it's also good on the side of balancing. Let's say at the third act even further, and yes, I lose also. I lose also the first act. I mean, because you know it happens. So.
Fair.
I can know, yeah, I know, let's say, the same patterns that the normal players know. I mean, I learn at the same rate than a normal player, perhaps even a bit slower, because I was not used to the controller. So now I'm getting used a bit more. That's all.
Speaking of cons and the like, do you have a favorite memory watching someone play your game? Whether it's, at a convention or a streamer or just otherwise, like someone at the office.
I have, of course, I have the direct experience of players the events when they come to try the game. They think, oh yeah, okay, let's start this game. Yeah, yeah, it's a pixel. I know. The first thing is that I say, I know you're a cop. Okay, you shoot, and then they die, and then they, what the fuck, and then they die, and they look at me. What's the kind of game is this one? Sometimes I let them playing because I want exactly to have this impression. I said, yeah, but what? I mean, so and now what was that? And then I explain because the tutorial I cannot do a tutorial during an event. No, so after there are some other people I like to say the tutorial, I like to explain them what's going on, and they finally, let's say, this moment of that you were asking, is when they understand that they can. You don't have to fight the stronger enemy, but when possible, you have to snatch the stronger enemy. Why you have to fight I don't know, like a ghost and goblin, or a bigger demon that moves in a way when you can become that demon, and you play like him, no? And then you change again. You take a bigger, a more powerful enemy. And so this is to give up fighting the stronger one when you can snatch on it. It's very, very, very difficult to remove this idea. It's very, it's very rooted in the brain of on the mind of the players. Really, it's incredible. And so after, when they discover they can do it, first of all, it's wow, fantastic, and they like it, and they like to do it. And so when something is very, very long and difficult, of course, I say, look, the game, I mean, it's a roguelike made by runs. It's supposed that you do sometimes runs only to collect money. You are not forced to collect money, but sometimes it happens it's better in that moment, among the other things, that you can do anyway. You are free to do for instance, to collect money because you want to unlock a specific character. So sometimes you won't go straight for, you can use the upgrades in a different way. You can use the characters in a different way. It's plenty of possibilities.
Fair, fair.
Yeah, and the specific YouTuber that I like because of his analysis, and I mean, you see, it's enjoying the game, and you see after when he gives structured feedback is called fire.
Hmm.
I say it every time during almost all the interviews. Yeah, I like because I knew him before that he was let's say playing Hyper Parasite, and yes, I mean
I mean, I
it's
met
very.
him when he was playing Unworthy. I've bumped into him in like 3 different communities now.
Oh, okay, greet him from a side.
Hmm.
So yes, yes, yes. So many games of many of these videos.
One of the things that I wanted to ask is just to find out how long Hyper Parasite has been in development, and also, do you folks currently have an estimated date you're aiming to release the game at?
As a concept, a parasite, hyper parasite, is in development since 2 years and half. we thought was a, let's say, simple game to do. Indeed, it's simple than our previous projects we tried. And what's happened that the Hyper Parasite, yes, before was simple parasite snatching soldiers. Was a danger of soldiers or different characters. Just to try different kind of weapons. And then we decided to replace those soldiers with the iconic 80s characters, mostly. Um, so this is, let's say, 2 years of 2 years and something of production. I cannot develop. I cannot say exactly when we stopped to do something, and then we took another direction.
Pardon the introduction, but did any of the soldier characters from before that carry over to the current version of Hyper Parasite?
Mm, let's say perhaps the weapon of the mad scientist,
Huh.
perhaps. Only weapon, or okay, as a weapon, machine gun. Yes, you will find a machine gun, but as a character, no. Well, some videos on YouTube about Hyper Parasite developing like 2 years in it in 40 seconds or stuff like this video. Yes, you can you check this out. I mean,
All right. And so, yeah, what would be the estimated date of you're aiming to release the game at?
yeah, we could say roughly September. Um, will be for PC on Steam, and then you will shortly will be released also on Switch.
Hmm.
Really, really, we want that the day will be the same day. We will make the possible that it's going to happen, because it's not, let's say, depending only by us, of course. So in September, let's say, stay tuned. Wishlist the product, wishlist the Hyper Parasite, and let's say in September you can explore the whole game.
Hmm. I'm looking forward to it. With that asked, now I mentioned this earlier in the prologue, but one of the things I'd noticed while I was poking around your website was that you guys had been working on a very different kind of game from Hyper Parasite. That's specifically the 2.5D Metroidvania I'd alluded to in my opening, Tenebrae Twilight of the Gods. Could you maybe elaborate a bit on this project? Because I really do want to know more about it and its current fate.
Okay. So basically, basically is was within brackets our dream of studio, because we said, okay, it takes like 2 years and half of production, or 3 years, and the idea it's very, very cool, which I'm not going anyway to spoil, because one day you never know. And we went to publisher proposing this idea, which for me it's still valid in let's say, in a way, but for 3 years of production, basically no publisher with no experience as a studio, as a first game want to let's say back up, collaborate with us. So basically, it was impossible. We tried to give a build. So it's basically what you can understand from the videos. Yes, there's those two characters. They end up in danger, looking for something that is being stolen from them. They have also story. Let's say it's quite common story mechanic. So, but the mechanic behind is really, for me, it's very, really, I don't know the word, like hidden, that you when you will see how was meant to play to reach something, you will take back the game from your shelf or from your store on Steam after, I don't know, 1 year, 6 months, when you will realize and you will play again. This
Hmm.
was the concept. Yes. Yeah, it's let's say the game we want to do perhaps when we will be grow up, but yeah, we can produce many games meanwhile.
All right. So, depending on how Hyper Parasite does, is the release going to be the complete game, or do you guys have any possible ideas bouncing around for stuff that could be added if things go well?
Yes, we have some ideas. We have already graphic how should be, and yes, I mean we have some ideas, but of course, as you say, depends by how Hyper Parasite goes. I hope well, so we can satisfy the audience with a new product. And yeah, we want to basically innovate in the world of the video game. We want sometimes to remove the ideas that you have about what to do in a video game, so you can explore more of in terms of really gameplay. Really, I mean.
At the current juncture, do you have any tips for current or future game designers?
Let's say it depends really widely, I mean, by the game you want to produce, the audience that you want to reach, the let's say the look, the art of your game. There are many suggestions. Of course, I like that. I'm perhaps the last person to give suggestions. You say, okay, you don't have a game released, full released, and okay, you don't know with which outcome and success. So yeah, let's say it's a bit premature, yes, but I would like, I don't know, to. Some people say give make a game that your grandmother could play. I hear this sentence a lot of time. And yes, this is a way to do. I mean, a way to an approach, and perhaps it's true, or perhaps no. It depends really by the genre, I think.
And sort of doubling back towards your role as a CEO, but do you have any tips for running a development team or being part of an efficiently functioning one?
Yes, sometimes. I mean, leave the your taste is not perhaps the one that you should follow. If other people have different, really, for what they see, what the players experience, let's say, don't is not only your taste. You have to listen everybody what they say, why it should be. This is, let's say, you don't make your game. You make the game that for people that want to if you want to commercialize, yes, I mean, yes, for the audience. But if you want the game for yourself, okay, do it your game for yourself. I mean, nobody's saying this one. You can do the game for yourself. You can play it alone, no problem. But make a game, yes, that you like, that other people want to play. In this way, I want to say in this way. So listen to all the criticism, let's say, all the critics, all the things.
Fair. Currently, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
Yes, I mean, try indeed Hyper Parasite. Try all those games with different mechanics, and try, let's say, expect you. I mean, as a gamer, try to experiment new to have new experience from a video game, as you will see a kind of game. A kind of movie that nobody goes to to see, but perhaps can have still some new experience, of course. That's all. This is for me the concept at the end.
We do tend to ask this at the end of every interview, but are there any indie projects that you have had your eye on that you've been following?
Let's say, unfortunately, I don't have time to follow any project. Really. No,
Fair.
no. I would really like to follow many projects, because from then you can take idea, you can take things. I mean, Yes, really, really. I wish I had the time, but no, no, not because I say, oh no, not bad. No, no, no. Really, I don't have time. And yeah, it's a pity. It's a pity because I mean, there are a lot of good things, but let's say from the point development until to the end, I don't have time to cheer someone for his achievements or to say yes, I like it, yes, go on, yes, why not, why not, why not, yes, no,
Fair.
not time at all, sorry. Yeah, yeah.
All right, so that winds everything down then. In which case, so I'd like to just sort of speak to the audience. First off, let you folks know that you can buy slash wishlist Hyper Parasite on Steam. For news, there's both a Twitter, a Facebook, and a spiffy website that you can check out with links to all of the above in this video's description. I'd also like to provide a big thanks to my community, both for tuning in and supporting me and continuing to do these videos. Let me know what you thought about this one in the comments. I'd also like to offer a large thank you to Severio for actually, being able to provide some time and answering the heck a ton of questions I had.
Yeah, welcome, thank you, anytime, anytime. Also invite the players to comment on our page on Steam, on Twitter to know more about, yes, but I will try, will I find this character, what to do, I mean, we will not spoiler unless you really don't want, but yes,
Links
it's
are in the
open.
descriptions, folks. Links are in the
Yeah,
description. Oh, and
yeah,
for those folks who are new here and interested in more indie developer interviews, reviews, you can hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified when we have a new release. And also, if you're a tabletop fan, do some D&D like me and Severio, because just the biggest nerds.
yeah, almost. There is always a nerd than you.
We also totally do tabletop stuff, which is released every Monday currently. Lastly, there is a Discord, which you can click the link in the banner or the description if you'd like to check out more of our community. And lastly, if you'd like to help support the channel, we have a coffee running now to help supplement funds for our lovely editors and to make sure we can continue to provide quality content. Again, check the
Yoo-hoo.
description plus banner for dem links.
Come on, it's a coffee. Come on,
It's a coffee.
do it. Just do it. Just do it. Don't think twice. Do it.
But yeah, altogether, thanks kindly, and it really was a pleasure talking with you today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you too, Arlyeon.
See ya, folks.
Bye.